I would compare this movie to a roller coaster that goes on for 5 minutes. It's fun the couple times you're on it, the couple minutes that you're on it, but at a certain point, I was just ready to get off. Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron James. This here is a review of the movie Twisters, written by Mark L. Smith and Joseph Kosinski, directed by Lee Isaac Chung. This is an indirect sequel, or we could just call it a reboot, of the 1996 movie Twister. Here we see a meteorologist who's in the big leagues in the big city and is tempted or enticed to return to her hometown with an opportunity to possibly prevent future disasters or prevent damage from happening to many homes and losing so many lives with technology that could either prevent tornadoes from happening, which sounds crazy, or even predict them. Right off the gate, I really appreciate the opening. It gets everything going. It puts you on the edge of your seat, tells you to buckle up. It sets the tone for the kind of ride you're going to have, especially when it comes to the tornado sequences. And it was able to maintain that feeling and at certain points raise the stakes when the tornadoes came for the rest of the movie. This was a fun, thrilling, entertaining ride that ended up getting tiresome by the hour 20 mark. The tornado sequences themselves are fantastic. It really made tornadoes feel terrifying, probably as terrifying as they really are. I've never experienced a tornado in real life. I've never been in areas where they are very prominent, although I've had warnings or tornado watches in my hometown, where I grew up, but never actually seen one, I don't think. The effects were good, or at least good enough, and you felt the danger. The risks were there, the danger was very much there, and you felt it. And I would say most people very much appreciated the tornado sequences. We have Daisy Edgar Jones, who plays our lead Katie, and she does a pretty good performance here. I just wish the character was interesting enough for me to be as invested as the writers were. Luckily, this was not a character study, and we got plenty of other characters to follow around and see them doing things and see all these characters interact. Although there were a couple characters that were very much interested, or I would say a few characters that were very much interested, including two that were romantically interested in Katie. But at no point did you really see why they were interested or what about her made her interesting at all. Katie lacks so much personality here that I did not really care about her, and I just wanted to see the tornado sequences, which is probably why this movie felt like it dragged a bit. Still, we got a good performance. I think a really good performance from Anthony Ramos as well, considering the type of movie that this is. There's a version of this film where Glenn Powell's character, Tyler, does not exist, and this movie is still as good. The way Tyler was introduced to us felt very contrived, and it was very out of place the way they had his character behave, at least initially. And as the story went on, Tyler became less annoying and started settling into the narrative of the story. It was as though the writers themselves started getting accustomed to having Tyler in their story, in their world, and they were settling in themselves. They tried to misdirect the audience with the type of person Tyler is, and it just didn't work for me. It didn't fit because when there is that shift, it already felt out of place, and we did not need Tyler in the first place. There was already another character, other characters for us to not like in the beginning. Powell himself did fine with the character. I have no major issues with him. I will say that the accent felt very forced and was not fitting. Same with Brandon Perea. That accent that they were having, it felt that they started becoming comfortable with it as the movie went along, but when you first get introduced to it, you can tell it was as though they didn't really practice. And I say Tyler is unnecessary, but his entire crew, which is supposed to be a group of misfits who act weird and dress out of the ordinary or seemingly not nice and have unorthodox ways of wrangling tornadoes, that was unnecessary. Not only did they get Barea to be in this movie, but they also got Katie O'Brien to be a part of this crew as well. And I'm very happy for her. I'm glad she's in this blockbuster. But they didn't even use her. O'Brien did fantastic in Love Lies Bleeding. That also came out this year. If you have not seen it, I recommend. It's pretty good. Again, Tyler being an antagonist, although temporarily an antagonist, it did not fit, and we already had a couple antagonists, including Ramos's character, which could have been at least a potential conflict. We even get an unnecessary love triangle that felt completely out of place, did not add any interest to the story, did not add any interest or investment from me into the characters, and very much felt like a last minute decision made just to add something to the mundaneness of the scenes where a tornado was not on screen. It's the mundaneness and how slow and how much the story dragged when there was no tornado on screen that I felt, why are we here? What are we doing? What is the point of all of this happening? Why are they talking? I did not at all care for the romantic angle. I do not think anyone in the audience really cares about the romantic angle. It felt as though maybe the writers thought they needed it. Maybe the studio forced it on them. Hey, we need a heartthrob that our lead is interested in, especially if it's a woman. I don't know, but that was pointless, and that was a good 10 minutes of the movie at minimum. And there is a lot of unnecessary exposition or redundant exposition presented here because you already understand Katie's fears, her motivations, why she acts or behaves the way that she does, and why she responds to certain events the way that she does, because we see that in the opening scene. And yet we get a extended moment with Tyler in a barn to go over this again as though pulling her out of it, but we didn't need that. And we get her explaining again her fears, and even Tyler mansplaining what tornadoes do and how they are created to this person who is clearly an expert in it. And it was more so for the audience, which I get it, but it just made no sense in that moment. They were very smart in adding a reporter here in this movie, so when they do explain what tornadoes are, it doesn't feel like unnecessary exposition because they're explaining it to a reporter who doesn't work in meteorology or in chasing down tornadoes. There is one tornado sequence that I felt was very unnecessary because it was just there to see this technology or see our protagonist fail at something. However, we've seen them fail multiple times before, actually a few times before, and this scene, they failed using a technology that we've seen them fail using in the opening scene. So to repeat it felt, again, unnecessary, redundant. Overall, I had fun with this movie. I think I will watch this movie the way I watched the first Twister, when it's on television, on cable, or in passing somewhere when I'm at the dentist office. And I will probably be very much invested when I'm watching it because those tornado sequences are fantastic. I think if you do choose to watch it in theaters, you're going to have a really good time seeing it on the big screen. If you don't and you wait for it to go to streaming, that's fine. I think you'll still enjoy seeing those tornado sequences, but then you have those moments that drag in between of people talking and random love sparking and whatever else happens. Until next time, y'all take care of each other, check up on one another, make sure you check up on yourself, and remember, potential has no limit.